The Zephyrian war fleet hung in space like a constellation of death, their crystalline hulls gleaming with the cold light of distant stars. Admiral Kethvar observed the small blue planet through the viewing portal of his flagship, mandibles clicking in satisfaction. Intelligence reports had been clear. The humans possessed primitive kinetic weapons, chemical propulsion, and barely functional energy shields. This would be over within hours. "Begin the assault," Kethvar commanded, his forearms gesturing toward the tactical display. The Zephyrian hegemony had conquered 47 worlds using the same strategy, overwhelming force applied with mathematical precision. Plasma cannons would eliminate orbital defenses, followed by ground forces to secure strategic resources. Simple, efficient, proven. The first wave of fighters screamed toward Earth's orbital stations, their pilots confident in their technological superiority. The humans had constructed basic defense platforms, crude affairs of metal and ceramic that wouldn't withstand even a single plasma barrage. Then something unexpected happened. Instead of engaging the fighters directly, the human platform simply opened. Like flowers blooming in fast forward, each station unfolded into dozens of smaller components. What had appeared to be 12 defensive positions suddenly became nearly 200 individual targets, each one broadcasting different heat signatures and electromagnetic profiles. "Sir," reported Navigation Officer Zethal, confusion evident. "In her harmonics, we're reading multiple target locks, but that's impossible. They shouldn't have the computational power for coordinated responses." Kethvar watched as his fighters fired at what appeared to be command centers, only to destroy decoy drones filled with reflective chaff. Meanwhile, the real weapons, disguised as innocuous sensor arrays and communication relays, began their work. They didn't use plasma or particle beams. Instead, they launched what human military historians would later term kinetic confetti. Thousands of tiny projectiles, each no larger than a grain of rice, fired from magnetic accelerators concealed within the disguised platforms. Individually harmless, collectively devastating. The fighters' shields were designed to deflect concentrated energy weapons, not absorb the cumulative impact of a million tiny strikes that created critical structural failures through resonance frequencies. Within minutes, 30% of the first wave was drifting debris. "This is impossible," Kethvar snarled. "Their technology is centuries behind ours. How are they?" His question was interrupted by his tactical officer. "Admiral, we're detecting massive energy signatures from the planet's surface. It appears they're using their communication satellites as targeting relays for—" "Sir, I don't understand this reading." On the display, Earth's weather satellites were repositioning themselves in patterns that made no tactical sense. They formed geometric configurations that seemed almost decorative, until every radio telescope, television dish, and cellular tower on the planet's surface suddenly aligned in perfect synchronization. The humans had weaponized their entire communication network. The improvised planetary array focused every available microwave transmitter into narrow beams, creating interference patterns that disrupted the Zephyrian fleet's navigation systems. Ships designed to operate in the vacuum of space suddenly found themselves flying blind, their quantum compass arrays overwhelmed by cascading feedback loops. As the main fleet struggled to regain coordination, smaller human vessels emerged from behind the moon. They looked like construction equipment because they were. Mining shuttles, cargo haulers, and orbital tugs hastily retrofitted with the most unlikely arsenal the galaxy had ever seen. One mining vessel approached the Zephyrian cruiser Dominant Predator, apparently defenseless. Its hull bristled with what appeared to be communications equipment. The cruiser's captain prepared to destroy the primitive craft with a single shot. Instead of weapons, the human ship deployed its mining laser array, not as weapons, but as an improvised holographic projector. Suddenly, 50 identical copies of the mining vessel appeared around the cruiser, each one perfectly realistic down to engine signatures and heat patterns. While the Zephyrians fired frantically at illusions, the real mining ship attached itself to their hull like a metallic parasite. Instead of boarding or detonating, it began doing what mining equipment does best. It started drilling. Not to breach the hull, but to access the ship's external sensor array and upload something into their computer systems. The something was a collection of Earth's most sophisticated computer viruses, adapted by human programmers who had spent decades learning to exploit alien technology captured from previous, smaller incursions. The Zephyrians had planned for plasma weapons and shield frequencies. They hadn't planned for malicious code disguised as navigation updates. As their ship's systems began displaying advertisements for Earth pizza delivery and cat videos instead of tactical information, Admiral Kethvar finally understood the horrible truth. The humans weren't trying to win through superior technology. They were winning through superior creativity. Every standard tactical doctrine assumed that opponents would follow logical, predictable patterns. Use the best available weapons. Target the most critical systems. Fight with honor and efficiency. Humans did none of these things. They turned communication satellites into weapons. They used mining equipment as stealth vessels. They deployed psychological warfare through unsolicited entertainment media. They had somehow convinced their own civilian population to participate in the defense by turning every smartphone on the planet into part of a massive distributed computing network that was currently calculating optimal trajectory solutions, faster than the Zephyrian fleet's military computers. "Sir," his communications officer reported with barely controlled panic, "the humans they're requesting surrender negotiations. Through their entertainment broadcast networks. They want to discuss terms while broadcasting something called Stand-Up Comedy Hour." Kethvar stared at the tactical display, watching his technologically superior fleet being systematically dismantled by creatures who had apparently declared war using equal parts advanced physics and absurdist humor. For the first time in his military career, he found himself seriously considering surrender. The Zephyrians had planned for force. They had not planned for the peculiar brand of chaos that emerged when a species evolved problem-solving skills in an environment that rewarded both cooperation and creative insanity. In the end, the war was won not by the side with better weapons, but by the side that could imagine using their toaster ovens as emergency communication relays. Humanity had taught the galaxy its most important lesson. Sometimes the best way to solve a problem is to first redefine what the problem actually is.